Recording in progress.
Good evening and welcome to the October 5th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference. Please be patient. We'll do our best to be efficient and allow everyone to participate equitably. This meeting is also being broadcast and streamed online by FCTV in real time. As this meeting is by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. I'd like to thank the staff for their continued support to this commission and their diligence assisting applicants. For the record, we are missing Betsy, Maury, and Melissa tonight. We do, however, have a quorum, so we're in good shape. I'll remind you guys commenting, I'll call on each of you at the appropriate time so we're not tripping over each other. And the votes have to be done by roll call, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. The link and further instructions are located on the agenda. Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022 regarding COVID-19 allows for full public participation. Therefore, if you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled. Be succinct and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Regarding RDAs, as an applicant, you want to hear a negative determination as it allows you to move forward with your project without the necessity of a full notice of intent application. All right, first up, vote minutes, September 14, 2022. Anyone?
I don't
Mr.
have.
Chairman, I reviewed the minutes and I found them to be accurate reflection of the meeting and would move approval.
Excellent.
I'll
Second, O'Brien.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted. Any comments? All right, Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of 9/14. Next up, our vote minutes, September 28th, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of the minutes as written.
Thank you.
Bird second.
Second, O'Brien.
Courtney beat you, Kevin. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of September 28th as submitted. There's no comments. All right, Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes as submitted. Thank you, Kristen. Next up, requests for determination of applicability. Anton Nell, 23 Chop Tank Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, RAZE, the existing garage, construct an addition, pool fence, and patio, decks, paver walkway, terrace, retaining wall, detached garage, and rent station to reconfigure the driveway, upgrade the sewage disposal system to meet Title V requirements, and to install dry wells. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move, and I have a question. This is floodplain?
Yep, only in the floodplain.
Thank you.
Pat and second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Joe Sherlock, 356 Quisset Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to rebuild an existing stone wall. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Patton second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. There's no questions. All right, Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you. Yep.
yeah, can I make a point? Going down the road in the future, when we have RDAs that we have scope of work like the first one we heard, where the work is entirely, it's only a floodplain issue. I realize it may get into the staff reports, but for the record, it would be good that when staff is making their presentation at these meetings, that they say, and this is a floodplain thing. And that would save me making that question. And it would make it clear for the record.
Okay, Court, that's not a problem. We'll try to remember that.
Thanks.
All right, next up, request for hearing under notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes. So I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, David Cleary, DC Builders, 18 Seabreeze Lane, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise RAZE an existing single-family dwelling and to construct a new single-family dwelling with a drive-under garage, install a new Title V sewage disposal system, reconfigure the driveway, install restoration and mitigation plantings, and all associated excavation, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Raoul up from Homes and McGrath, Cape Islands, Homes and McGrath, to present the project. You're the only one I saw on the list here, Raoul, so I'm like, it's got to be him.
Yes, good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi, representing Homes of McGrath in this case, and representing the applicant, which is the builder, DC Builders, and the homeowner, who's Cyrus Pletner. This property and this project might sound familiar or look familiar to some of you. It was presented about late 2000, December 2020 and early 2021. It was only for a septic upgrade at the time and for invasive removals. But the homeowner has decided to completely tear down the existing house and rebuild the new house. So in 2021, there was an order of condition issued for the septic system. It was for a 5-bedroom septic system. There was also proposed dry wells for the existing house. There was a proposed parking in the front of the house for 2 cars, and there was invasive removals and mitigation plantings. From that order of condition, the only activity that is underway and has started is the invasive removal. For those who remember the site, the invasives were growing all the way up to the existing house. That has all been cleared, but instead of proceeding with the planting of the mitigation and the restoration plants, the homeowner wants to get this second order conditions to rebuild the house. The resources on or within 100 feet of this property or this project is land subject to coastal stone flowage. There's a coastal bank. The house is actually built on the coastal bank. And there's a freshwater wetland and BVWs that occupy more than half of the property.
Raoul,
also,
do you want to share your screen? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I will do that right now.
Thank you.
So yes, that's the site plan that we provided for this application. And actually, if I scroll probably to the next page, this is the site plan that was presented almost a year and a half ago. this is the orientation that we're showing, which is kind of north is to the left. And it was just for a septic upgrade and some additional activities. The work today, it's about the same, except that now we're completely tearing down the house and rebuilding a new house, reducing the number of bedrooms to 4. So the septic system is still in the front, still the same setbacks as before. But the house is going to be a new house built under the current building codes in the floodplain. So it's the lower level is just for storage and for a garage. So it's going to have flood vents as required by the flood construction building code requirements. Something that we changed from the original application was the area in the backyard is roughly elevation 6. And the roof was proposed to be handled with 2 leaching pits, but groundwater is roughly elevation 5. So it's rather shallow. We are changing the idea of using leaching pits with using shallow leaching trenches, just because of groundwater separation. But otherwise, the mitigation, planting, and restoration will be relatively the same. The septic system will be reduced to 4 bedrooms. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Yeah, I'll stop
Thank you,
sharing.
All right. Jen?
Raul, you were able to see, and I'm sorry if I missed this because I was looking at something. Were you able to address DEP's technical comments?
So yes, there were 2 questions in the DEP comments. One has to do with the work in the BBW. So there's about 700 square feet of work in the BBW that has to do with the invasive removal. At the edge of the BBW, the invasives were growing into the wetland. So part of the restoration is working in 700 square feet, which is still an improvement. And I don't think it's going to be a problem with the board approving that work in the BBW. The second comment had to do with the stability of a bank, because we're actually rebuilding a structure that's built on the bank. We're working on the bank, but the proposed work is not going to destabilize the bank. The new house will have one of the foundation walls that will act as a retaining wall, and there's another wall that's retaining to the south of the septic system and the parking area, which is relatively the same that was approved a year and a half ago.
Okay, thank you. I have no further comments or questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Ms. Bergeron?
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner comments? Courtney?
No comments.
All right. Kevin?
No comments other than it's got to be a tough site to build.
Yeah. Everywhere you turn, there's something. Steve?
Just wanted to verify that the footprint is exactly the same.
It's not. There is towards the back, towards the wetlands, is not getting closer to the wetlands, but it is getting closer to the front. If you see the plan, there is a dashed gray line that represents the existing footprint of the house, and then the colored orangey is the proposed house. Doesn't move closer to the wetlands. It grows to the front.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't see the lines. They're very clear to me now. Thank you.
Paul, do you need ZBA?
I don't think so.
25 feet, right? But that's a private road.
It's a private road. Yeah, I'll have to confirm that. I don't think so.
Okay. I believe that's out of our purview, but I just thought I'd raise that, because it seems obvious. All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? All right, Raul, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Nope, I'm all set.
All righty.
Make a motion to close the hearing, take it under advisement. Pat?
Bird second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. If there's nothing further. All right, we're gonna vote. Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve,
Aye.
it is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Raul.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Raul, you're going to be here for the 21 fair. Is that, yeah. No, I got it. That's Brian. Nope, I got it.
Okay,
You're all set. Good night, Raul.
thanks. Good night.
All right. Next up is a continued hearing under a notice of intent. Joseph and Kathleen Clark, 250 Alder Lane, North Falmouth, Mass. For permission to clear an access path, conduct invasive species management and restoration, and a vista prune according to FWR 10.1810B. And everybody here tonight is on the quorum. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Katrin from Wilkinson Ecological Design and Mike from Falmouth Engineering to present their continued project.
Excellent. Hi, Mike. Hi, Katrine.
Hello,
Hello.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'd share my screen.
Yes, sir.
I guess I should introduce myself. For the record, Mike Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant along with Katrin Higgins from Wilkinson. And this is a continued hearing. I'll be very brief because I think the only thing that I needed to do on my plan was to add the 25-foot wide vista corridor, which I've shown here as a orange dashed line. It's 25 foot wide and it's coincident with the location that was on the Wilkinson plan. I think that's all that I was tasked with doing. Katrin had some details to this review and revise for you related to the planting, I believe. And with that, I will turn it over to her and stop sharing.
Thanks, Mike. Katrine, you're up.
Sure, thank you. Good evening. Let me just share my screen. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we heard your feedback in the first hearing and we made the following refinements to our plan. First, we made the view corridor lines more visible. They were a little bit lighter. The extent of the view corridor of the 25-foot view corridor, we made that more visible in our plan. We added a note on the top here, top right hand side of the plan, indicating, just to clarify, that all existing native shrubs will be preserved and encouraged to flourish throughout the area. And then most importantly, we went back to reviewed the site conditions and we adjusted some of the shrubs we were already showing on the plan, and we added more shrubs, especially in the woodland area where there was a concern that we weren't going to plant enough plants in the first hearing that was discussed. So we reviewed really where there were existing shrubs and existing vegetation and where there were larger spots that were potentially would be bare, and we added shrubs accordingly to that. And we also added a new species that we didn't have previously on our plan, and rose. We added some Carolina rose, which would do best along the edge of the road where there will be more sunlight available rather than in the understory in the woodland. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Jen?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Ms. Bergeron?
I don't have any questions either. Thank you.
All right. We're going to mix it up. Steve?
Thank you, but I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Kevin?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I don't have any questions. I just have a comment. I think it's a great project. Thank you to the Clarks for taking this on.
You, Mr. Chair, you forgot me, but I don't have any questions.
No, I didn't. I'm going backwards. Pay
Oh,
attention, please. So thanks for the work on the plans, both of you. All right, Mr. Byrd would like to speak. Could everybody please mute themselves and wait for Courtney to speak?
I will speak. No comments.
Yeah. All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
All right. All right, is there anything else from the board? Anything else, Katrine, you'd like to add?
Nope.
All right,
Never walk past the close. Patton, I'd make a motion to close the hearing and take it in advisement.
Bird second.
all right. We have a motion and a second to close this hearing. All right, we're voting. Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
it is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Katrine.
Thank
Thank
very
you
much.
all. Stay dry. Have a good evening.
All right. Courtney commenting, I try to mix it up a little bit, but voting, I just stick with alphabetical just for the formality because,
Okay.
you know, because we're not in person, that's all. Just so you know. Next up, continued request for a certificate of compliance. Jen, can we do these both at the same time?
I don't see why not. Just read them both.
Oh, that's why I'm asking. Okay, so I'm gonna read them both. So first one is John Samorian, 21 Fay Road, Falmouth, Mass. Request for a certificate of compliance for Mass DEP number 25-2254. Simultaneously, Michelle Samorian, trustee, 21 Fay Road, Falmouth, Mass. Request for a certificate of compliance for Mass DEP number 25-4372. I'm not sure, Jen or Alyssa.
Alyssa, you want to take this one?
Sure. I believe Brian Wall would be here to represent the
Nope,
project.
he's
just in the weeds.
to answer questions.
Okay. Yes, so this is a continued hearing for a certificate of compliance for the two DEP numbers previously listed. This project initially came to you as a hearing for a COC. The board determined that since the order was still valid, that the applicant should apply for an amended order of conditions, which was done and you guys approved it. At this time, the work has been completed. It was just a couple plantings that they needed to add. I've been out to the site. They've been installed. They look great. And staff recommends that we issue compliance for both DEP numbers.
Simple enough.
And I
All
do
right,
have the
simple.
quorum and all of you guys are on it.
I will
Yes.
make a motion. I will so move.
Patton,
All
second.
right. All right, but I'm gonna ask anyway, does anybody have any questions or comments?
So the only question, Mr. Chair, is where, do we need to vote separately on each one or one vote will do both?
Separately on each one, Courtney.
Okay, so my motion was
Vote
for
them
for
separately.
John Samorian.
Okay, so that is for DEP number 25-2254. So we have a
Right.
motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation of issuing a certificate of compliance. So we're going to vote. Yes. Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
All right, it is unanimous. We have issued a certificate of compliance.
Move to accept
So-
the request for a certificate of compliance from Michael Samorian, 21 Fay Road.
Patton, second.
Michelle for the record, and that DEP number is 25-4372. We have a motion and a second to issue a certificate of compliance. All right, we're voting. Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
it is unanimous. We have issued a certificate of compliance. Thank you. Next up, vote orders of conditions. First up, Aries Sorican, AMS Revocable Trust, 77 Fay Road, Falmouth, Mass. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this was the walkway through the wooded area. The applicant had revised the plan to address this commission's original concerns from the denial. I think the only the staff's concerns were we didn't want to see the removal of the tree, the removal of the trees outside of that view corridor. And I think that was really our only concern. Do we have anything else?
I have a note from about the 7 for 7 trees.
Oh, yeah. So Teresa was proposing to remove 7 trees and replace with shrubs. And I think it was either Betsy or Maury wanted to see the trees replaced with actual trees.
Correct, 1 for 1.
1 for 1.
Yeah. And I don't think that's unreasonable there.
Okay. So replace the removed trees, proposed trees with 7 additional trees. Okay. Okay.
So I'll make a motion to accept the order as discussed.
Patton, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. There's nothing further. All right, Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, I thought this was an excellent plan to respect the conservation restrictions on the property and address a very important need for the family. I thought it was great.
nice when it works out. Well said. Next up, Allison and William Allison Mankiewicz Trust, 210 Quistit Avenue, Falmouth, Mass.
This is to reconstruct some decks and porches on the property and construct a new porch in the front of the property. There was a note that the tank was going to be relocated, but I think Mike said it's now not. It's going to stay right where it is. And that was our only comments, I think.
I don't have any particular notes. And for the record, the quorum is all of us.
Yep, I think you're good.
So I'll
I
make a
had something
motion.
about the steps, but I think it's actually an improvement over the existing condition.
So I will make a motion to accept the order as discussed.
Patton, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. If there's nothing further. All right, Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
it is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. All right, next up is Matthew Waldrick, N-Star Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, Mill Road, right-of-way, Falmouth, Mass. Jen?
This is the redundant cable going to the vineyard. I think it's a fairly straightforward project. The only condition that I would put on, besides a pre-construction on a project like this, they are going down Mill Road, is the time of year restriction for activities for the plovers and requiring a monitor while they're working within that plover restriction. They are going to be pretty close to Surf Drive. And under your bylaw regulations, we know they're there and we are bound to protect them. So what would happen is you'd give a time of year restriction, and then they would work with Mass Audubon to have a monitor there to make sure there's no plovers in the area, 24, 48 hours prior to the project, and then they can move forward. So, and they seemed agreeable to that.
Yep. Courtney?
I had brought up the business about root barriers, but I believe that was the area discussed was outside our jurisdiction. Is that correct?
Yes, Courtney.
Okay.
That's something you may want to talk to
DPW about.
DPW about.
Yeah. Well, I think that was the message we gave them.
Because they're
I
also,
think
I believe, they may need a license from the town. So also the Board of Selectmen may be able to put that in some sort of license agreement. So
Yeah.
that's an option to explore for the community as well.
Yeah. Okay, well then I'll make a
Melissa has a
motion.
question.
Yeah. I'll make
I
a
also
motion.
had a note that there was some interest in having a plan written down during severe storms and sort of
Storm plan,
what someone would do.
especially
that
with
time.
their staging. Yeah, with their staging equipment. A storm.
Yeah, I think there should be something to that effect.
Okay. Okay, got it.
All right, anything else?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing. I'm sorry, to accept the order as discussed.
And second,
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. If there's nothing further. All right, Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. And before you jump on the last bandwagon, just a reminder, there is no meeting next week.
So
All right,
it is with great reluctance that I offer the motion to adjourn.
And second,
all right. We have a motion and a second to adjourn.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, aye.
and Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Not
Thank
every-
The
You.
shortest, but it was